Yeah, what's good YouTube? It's your boy Only One KDB, and I'm back with another video. In today's video, we got how good was WWE's Attitude Era actually. Now, if you're new to the channel, make sure you smash that like button for your boy, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that post notification bell so you can get notified when I drop another banger. Let's get to it, man.
An era where stunning your boss was a weekly tradition. A time where blood, violence, and bikini contests were just regular parts of Monday nights. A moment in history where everyone from kids to adults would gather around the TV because missing WWE shows meant missing out on some of the craziest stuff you'd see in your life.
Yeah, it was crazy back then.
WWE at its absolute peak. From a stacked roster featuring Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, The Undertaker, Kane, Triple H, Mick Foley, The Hardys, Lita, Trish Stratus, Kurt Angle, and Chris Jericho.
Oh my god, that roster is stacked like crazy. People say they missed the Attitude Era, but I don't think they could never go back to this point. Like back then, they just didn't give up. They just didn't care at all. Like you could do anything, you could say anything. Like now in this new generation, you can't do that. You would get canceled so quick. So back then it was like you just had free range to do anything. But now it's like they got cancel culture and they got all different kind of stuff that'll hold you back from doing certain stuff or saying certain stuff.
Stories and moments that had you on the edge of your seat every single week. Wrestlers were flipping off the crowd, cursing on live TV, and doing things that would get them fired today. It's a time in wrestling history that will never be replicated, never be topped, and honestly, probably never be allowed to happen again.
Right.
This was when WWE said screw it to being family friendly and decided to push every boundary they could find. So what exactly made the Attitude Era this perfect storm of entertainment? What was that special ingredient that's missing in today's WWE? How did a wrestling company manage to become the hottest thing on television and make wrestlers into legit mainstream celebrities? Let's take a trip down memory lane and figure out what made the Attitude Era so special.
Let's get it.
The Attitude Era was born out of desperation. WWE was getting their ass kicked every Monday night by WCW Nitro, who had stolen all their top stars and were putting on this cool, rebellious show with the NWO led by Hulk Hogan. Vince McMahon realized his cartoon superhero product wasn't cutting it anymore. People wanted something edgier, something that felt real. So WWE said screw it and went full chaos mode. They stopped trying to be the good guys and embraced being the rebels. Instead of colorful characters teaching kids about prayers and vitamins, they gave us anti-heroes who drank beer, flipped people off, and said whatever the hell they wanted. The whole WWF Attitude campaign was basically WWE admitting they were going to be the bad influence your parents warned you about. While WCW was focused on aging superstars like Flair and Hogan, WWE was creating these raw, unfiltered characters that pushed the envelope every single week. You had names like Steve Austin, who rebelled against the corporate authority. You had The Rock electrifying a whole generation. The Undertaker and Kane terrorizing the entire roster with their supernatural antics. DX being the rule-breaking cult of degenerates that made parents hide the remote. Kurt Angle transforming from an Olympic hero into a menace to society. Chris Jericho being the epitome of cool. Divas in skimpy clothes raising the heat. The edginess wasn't just for shock value, it was strategic rebellion that connected with the audience and gave them an escape from real-world problems. And when you have a roster full of misfits, rebels, and degenerates, the stories are bound to be equally controversial.
Stories.
When you think of the Attitude Era, you immediately think of the violence, chair shots, and blood, but what made all of that work were the stories behind it. The boss himself was this evil corporate overlord who thought he could control everyone and everything. Vince versus Austin wasn't just a wrestling feud. It was real-life workplace injustice played out on television. Austin was the blue-collar hero who drank beer, drove trucks, and didn't take shit from anyone, especially some rich corporate jerk in a suit. When Austin stunned Vince, it felt like watching every frustrated employee get revenge on their worst boss. The beauty was how simple it was. Rich prick tries to control working man beats the hell out of rich prick every single week. The story kept evolving too. Vince would hire bodyguards like Dude Love, Undertaker, and Kane to take out Austin, but Stone Cold would just find creative ways to make Vince's life miserable. Austin filling Vince's Corvette with cement, driving a beer truck to the ring, or showing up to attack Vince at a hospital made it feel like a real personal war where anything could happen.
Why do I keep saying I remember this? I wasn't born back then, but I remember seeing this on like YouTube afterward. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, man, like I ain't gonna lie, Stone Cold played this role so well. I always thought he didn't like Vince McMahon in real life. Like, that's what I always thought, because he played that role so well. Like, beating a man up in the hospital is crazy. He pulled up to the hospital and just got to work, gang. Like, it was a fun time back then, man. But R.I.P. to the Attitude Era, because we ain't never seeing this shit again. So I hope y'all enjoyed it while it lasted, man.
Rock vs. Austin was this perfect clash of personalities that felt like watching two alpha males figure out who was really the top dog. The Rock was this cocky, charismatic corporate superstar who thought he was Hollywood royalty, while Austin was the no-nonsense ass-kicker who thought Rock was all flash and no substance. We also had the whole situation where Rikishi ran over Austin, Kurt Angle trying to seduce Triple H's wife, while The Undertaker tried to crucify Triple H's wife. Kane and Undertaker brought this supernatural family drama that somehow worked perfectly in the Attitude Era's chaos. Kane was Undertaker's psychotic little brother who'd been locked away and tortured, finally returning to set fire to everything Taker cared about. When Kane ripped the door off Hell in a Cell to cost Undertaker the title, it felt like watching a horror movie where the monster finally escapes from the lab and breaks into the real world. Their backstory about the funeral home fire and Paul Bearer being Kane's father added layers that made their violence feel personal. Apart from this, you also had Undertaker throwing Mankind off the top of the Hell in a Cell structure in a moment that'll always be etched in wrestling history. Mankind versus The Rock during their championship feuds showed how personal hatred could drive someone to extreme lengths. Mankind took unbelievable punishment just to prove he belonged in the main event, while Rock treated him like some carnival freak who didn't deserve respect. When Mankind finally won the title, it felt like the ultimate underdog victory. D-Generation X represented pure rebellion against authority and traditional wrestling. They'd crotch chop at everyone, make fun of their opponents' personal lives, and act like the cool kids who didn't give a damn about rules. The Attitude Era took those universal feelings and cranked them up to 11 with chair shots, stunners, and larger-than-life characters. The Attitude Era roster was absolutely loaded with personalities that jumped off the screen. Sure, Austin and Rock were the main event guys, but the depth of characters throughout the entire card was insane. Kurt Angle came in as this obnoxious Olympic hero who thought he was better than everyone else. The guy could go from making you laugh with his dorky antics to making you believe he could snap your ankle in half. His theme song made him feel like this all-American superhero, which made it even better when crowds would boo the hell out of him. Chris Jericho was the king of running his mouth and backing it up in the ring. He had this rock star persona with the long blonde hair and cocky attitude that made him the perfect heel. When his countdown timer hit 0 and his theme music started playing, you knew you were about to witness something cool. The Hardy Boys felt like these fearless, extreme sports athletes who jump off anything for the thrill. Edge and Christian were these whiny, entitled pretty boys who thought they were cooler than everyone else. The Dudley Boys were...
Yo, the Edge and Christian, man, oh my goodness, man, take me back. Man, take me back. Edge and Christian, Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy. I ain't gonna lie, probably my favorite tag team duo was probably Jeff and... Y'all hear that? But yeah, Jeff and Matt Hardy was too elite, man. They was probably my favorite tag team duo.
Straight-up bullies from ECW who'd put anyone through a table just because they felt like it. Each team had their own identity and fan base. Even the lower card guys had character work that made them memorable. Too Cool with Scotty 2 Hotty and Grandmaster Sexay were these dancing goofballs who somehow got over just by having fun. Mick Foley's 3 personalities showed how one wrestler could reinvent himself completely. Each character had different motivations, different looks, and different themes that made them feel like separate people. The women's division had characters like Chyna, who felt legitimately dangerous, while Lita brought this punk rock edge that made her feel cooler than half the guys on the roster. Trish Stratus became the childhood crush of every dude who grew up in that era, and names like Tori...
No, my childhood crush was Lita. Lita's some fun. She's so fine, bruh.
Sable, and other divas made parents paranoid about their kids watching the show. What made this roster special was how everyone felt like an exaggerated version of real people. Austin was that blue-collar guy who hated his boss, Rock was that charismatic athlete who knew he was awesome, and Angle was that overachiever who wouldn't shut up about his accomplishments. These characters had depth beyond just good guy or bad guy. They had their flaws, they had their motives, and all of them had an energy that made you care about what happened to them. Together, this blend of larger-than-life characters and personal stories led to some of the most controversial moments in WWE history.
Moments.
The Attitude Era was built on moments that made you jump out of your seat and immediately call your friends to make sure they saw what just happened. Mankind getting thrown off Hell in a Cell by The Undertaker was pure insanity that you couldn't believe was actually happening. Watching Mick Foley's body crash through that announce table and then somehow get back up to continue the match was like witnessing someone survive a car crash. Jim Ross's call on commentary made the moment feel surreal.
He's broken in half.
Austin driving that beer truck to the ring and hosing down the corporation was peak Stone Cold chaos. Kane putting The Undertaker in a casket and setting it on fire made you think you just saw someone die on live TV. DX invading WCW Monday Nitro with their army tank was this perfect blend of real-life drama and wrestling storylines. Sable's evening gown matches and bikini contests were must-see television for teenage boys, while names like Dawn Marie, Stacy Keibler, and Jacqueline crossed boundaries that wouldn't fly on today's TV. Apart from this, you had bizarre moments like Mae Young giving birth to a hand, The Rock and Mankind's This Is Your Life segment, Jeff Hardy jumping from insane heights, and Kurt Angle driving a milk truck. These moments worked because they felt wild and unpredictable. You never knew if someone was going to get legitimately hurt, have a full-on breakdown, or do something that would get the show canceled. That uncertainty made every segment must-see television because anything could happen.
Right.
The Attitude Era wasn't just great wrestling. It was a cultural phenomenon that changed entertainment forever. This was when WWE stopped being a wrestling company and became this rebellious force that the world couldn't get enough of. Wrestling went from being a niche thing for certain fans to being the coolest thing on television that everyone was talking about. What made this era untouchable was how it captured the spirit of the late 90s perfectly. Austin was every working person who hated their job, and Vince was every terrible boss who thought money made him untouchable. The characters felt real because they were based on real frustrations and real personalities cranked up to 11. The storytelling worked because it treated fans like adults who could handle complex emotions and moral gray areas. Good guys did bad things, bad guys had understandable motivations, and everyone existed in this messy middle ground that felt like real life. Most importantly, the Attitude Era respected its audience's intelligence. Stories built over months, payoffs actually paid off, and when someone got their revenge, it meant something. You didn't have wrestlers breaking character on social media or creative teams changing directions every week because of some outrage from marks on Twitter. Today's WWE is technically better. The wrestling is cleaner, the production values are higher, and they're way more inclusive. But it's missing that raw, unfiltered energy that made the Attitude Era special. The Attitude Era happened at the perfect time when WWE needed to rebel against WCW, when society was ready for edgier entertainment, and when wrestling had just the right mix of established stars and hungry newcomers. If you lived through the Attitude Era, you know exactly why it was special. If you missed it, go back and watch some of these matches and segments.
I ain't gonna lie, man. The Attitude Era was definitely elite, man. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, y'all think they would ever go back to this? I don't think so. Cause they wouldn't be able to be on TV. Like it was too raw and uncut. But we about to get out of here. If y'all enjoyed that reaction video, make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. Smash that like button because it do help me get into the algorithm. And if you made it to the end of the video, make sure you comment the Attitude Era was the best. Comment that.